partner. Shit, boy. Shit.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about why The Wire is such a damn good show and has so many life lessons and analogies packed into every episode with just one simple quote. In today's episode, we're going to go over some of those amazing top quotes I've found and kind of just discuss it, talk about it. And yeah, I hope you guys find this interesting. And yeah, let's get it. Now, I'll just give a brief overview about what The Wire is. Basically, just give you an idea, The Wire is, it's a crime drama about, the city of Baltimore. But really, it's the story of America, basically, just in that one little pocket. And each season kind of goes over its own topics, how, you know, each season focuses on different systems that's keeping the society running, supposedly. So, number one is all about kind of the drug trade, Avon Barksdale, Stringer Bell, things like that, and the police department, Detective McNulty, and his cohorts. So, the second season is about the working class in um, the longshore union people at the ports and kind of what they have to go through. Like I said, the working class and the docks. So season three kind of discusses politics as well as reform, and that gets shaky on both sides. So that's life as well. Season four is about kids in schools and growing up in poverty and how people live and deal with that. Season five, I thought was the best because it really shows America at its core, which is the media and how the truth gets twisted. So I hope you guys don't get twisted in this. So, and instead of looking at this as good guys versus bad guys, the show, really lets everyone have an honest look at how everyone, be it cops, dealers, politicians, kids, they're all trapped in a broken system just trying to survive. So, kind of like life, nobody is 100% pure, innocent, good, and no one is 100% pure, evil, bad. Everyone has slivers, and, everyone is just trying to survive in the game that they were born in. I mean, obviously, if you're born into the Bezos or the Musks, I'm guessing things aren't that tough appearance wise, right? I don't know how you're dealing mentally, but Wire is a realistic view of how the system fails people and some people fail the system. Politicians, reporters, things like that. So it goes both ways. And it's just incredibly well written show. And for it to stand the test of time and still be on the top 10 show lists of all times, you're doing something right. It's typically within the top 10, top five, you're usually going to see these three shows all the time, and that is The Wire, Breaking Bad, and The Sopranos. So that's not a fluke. That's just what it is. All right, our first life lesson from The Wire we're going to get into is from the character Omar Little. That is Michael K. Williams, who went on to do other great things with his career. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but a funny story about Michael K. Williams. He was trying to make it for a very long time as a classically trained, ballet dancer, and was basically living homeless, trying to get the gigs and start in his career. Didn't really happen, as quick as he wanted. And fast forward to he's out one night at a bar with some of his friends. He gets into conflict, a fight erupts, and someone smashes a bottle over his face, and it basically creates the scar-shaped, incision that has fueled his early career and then helped him go on to do bigger and better things. So, with that being said, the first quote is, "It's all in the game." What does that mean? I mean, there's a lot to think about because it's a very short sentence, but some systems, be it your workplace, be it your politics, be it your hustles, school districts. I mean, every single one of them, are rules you have to abide by that you didn't make, so you can't really question them. You survive by just understanding that these are systems that you have to learn to play in this game that you're actually in, right? This next quote actually comes from Michael K. Williams again, Omar Little, when he was in the middle of a street shootout with Bay, as he's known on the show, and before they leave, because they both hear the sirens coming because they were shooting it out on the street. Michael K. Williams yells to into the streets, "Ayo, Bay, if you come with the king, you best not miss." And the life lesson is just don't challenge someone or something until you're absolutely ready and 100% prepared. Confidence without preparation is often suicide. So I also equate this to, hey, don't put your cards on the table unless you're ready to, show it all and you have the proof to back it up. Because in today's times, it's you need lots of proof. Your word is not as good, unfortunately. I think we've seen this many times in society. This next quote I love because it speaks so highly to, even though that's a lot of the characters are criminals and are doing dirt in the streets, so to speak. They also have their own ethos, code of ethics, right? So, and that's even funnier to hear from Omar Little, who's a stick-up guy who's robbing drug dealers and running into trap houses and, like I said, stealing the stash. So, but to Omar, even he had a code, and that was that a man must have a code. I completely agree with that. We all have to have ethics and integrity and be able to go to sleep and know that we're doing what we think is the right thing, right? So no matter how no matter how messy life gets, your integrity is what counts. Um, your code is what keeps you. Your code is what keeps you from becoming what you hate. So keep that in mind, and that's the funniest thing that like I said, about what the code is, and he's like, a code? Like, you have a code? He's like, yeah. No taxpayers, no civilians, no school teachers, no children. It's just it's if you're in the game, you're up for grabs. Basically, was his way of thinking about it. So this next quote comes from Marla Daniels, who is the wife of Cedric Daniels, a rising star in the police department in Baltimore. He is really confused and not liking how he has to play these games that he doesn't want to play to advance in his career. And the life lesson is that, I'm sure we've all seen this now, whatever way we want to talk about it, but the system is typically rigged, and it's rigged against you. So sometimes the smartest move is just stepping outside of that system entirely instead of trying to beat a broken one. And this is so true. This is Marla Daniels talking to her husband, Cedric Daniels, here about, you can't lose if you don't play. And he doesn't want to play the games to get ahead in the police department. So, I mean, that's a pretty, we all want to advance, go up the ladder, right? But it's like we all got to play games and do things a certain way. So, interesting take, right? He went on to do other great works, like Bosch's detective partner in Bosch, as well as a bunch of other. I'll put him up in the timeline. I'll put him up in the timeline so we can see. And yeah, he was just a real cutthroat, scrappy dealer who wanted to take over the system and be his own kingpin, basically. And he had this very powerful quote where he stole a couple of lollipops, right, from this store, but he paid for a drink or whatever, right? And the security guard, uh, steps to Marlo, basically saying, "Hey, man, how are you going to steal that shit right in front of me, knowing, you know what I mean, like that, like I got a job, man. Like, how are you going to do this to me?" And Marlo's response to the security guard was the best, because it was basically
You want it to be one way, but it's the other way.
and so true in this quote, that life does not bend to your expectations. Again, we all want to be homeowners before we're 30. We want to have an amazing job that pays us six figures. We want to be able to, provide for our families and take care of them. And, you know, a lot of time, reality wins every time. It's not our expectations, but reality. And the sooner you accept this truth, faster than it hurts you, will get you ahead a lot further in life. So just loved this quote because it was so goddamn funny the way they spun this situation. Basically, they, were interrogating some shooter, in their interrogation room, and this is the early 2000s, mind you, so it didn't seem like, that crazy with how wild they were saying. But basically, they strapped this guy's hands to you know, to a big copy machine and say this is the truth upon 5,000, right? And you should be wearing a radiation jacket.
Did you and
Everything
Marnell
fine,
shoot your
right?
boy
And
Pookie
basically
down
just
on
asked
Carey
any
Street
questions.
just
Like,
like
did you shoot
Marnell
this
said you
person,
did?
right?
Nah,
And they
no.
already had kind of true false papers already in the printer, right? So when they asked him a question, he would answer. They hit the print button. And
Lie.
like this blank
Lying
copy printout,
motherfucker.
they would already say true or false because of
Machine is never
the
wrong,
questions
son.
they were going with. And then he would just
Fuck,
break down
man.
and
Nigga can't never keep his damn mouth
I should have
shut.
shot this fool myself, instead
Busted
of
the
having
cap
my
and
friend
Pookie
go
ass
do it,
my
man.
own self.
It's just really
Left
funny.
Marnell
So,
home and shit. He just a bitch is all.
does that mean, well, people fall for, boldness, more than honesty, right? I mean, we can see that in economics
Bigger the
and
lie,
a lot of different,
the more they
markets,
believe.
right? Whether it's, politics, business, confidence, confidence will sell lies better than the truth sells itself. And I think we've all seen that on YouTube, how, more, uh, you know, triggering stuff, right? Or stuff that gets us upset, gets platformed. This next quote comes from the character Bubbles, who was a street person, basically drug addict, who used his wits about him to make a couple bucks and continue to get high. Whether that was ripping off drug dealers, somehow robbing the stash, or ends up making his own little business, where he basically gets a lot of items, puts it in a cart, goes down these really bad areas. Says, hey, you need white T-shirts, you need toilet paper, you need smokes, you need a cigar roll, things like that. And it's just pretty funny how his character evolves, right? But this quote comes from Bubbles, and it's, what sense does it make to be the best of a bad situation, right? Kind of interesting because he's always just yammering, and it just comes off as street wisdom. So basically, it says, don't celebrate something you're number one at that is toxic. Be number one is still a mess. This next quote comes from a really cool character by the name of Slim Charles. He gets that name because he's like 6'4" and he's incredibly slim, but amazing story behind him. He was originally one of the neighborhood people who was just paid to show up and be an extra on the set. They saw how much just talent he had. They were like, dude, like, you need to stop this. The producers and writers try to get at him and be like, dude, you need to get out of this shit, all right? Because you have so much talent, you don't even realize it. And it worked because he went from literally being a backup, extra from the neighborhood to actually being a core character of the show. And the meaning of that is that, some institutions keep going because they're not right, but it's just because nobody wants to admit that they're wrong, right? How many times have we got caught in that pride trap where it's like, we know we were wrong, but we're like, I got to keep going. I can't lose face. I don't want to give in or admit I was wrong, because that means, I'm weak or something, which is not the case. Just realize that systems will protect their own myths before they protect their own people. You'll see that a lot in both political parties. I'm sure you'll notice that, right? Our next quote comes from the amazing Calvin Colvin, who was the commander of the Western District, I believe they called it in the show. But his quote, which is really big, is the world is bigger than this corner here. And what that really means is that people get trapped in this small world, and that's all they know. Growth means stopping beyond your comfort zone, right? Even when it's terrifying, we got to use that terrifying, fear to push us from behind rather than stand in our way, as Jimmy Iovine once said. So this next quote comes again from Marla Daniels, Cedric Daniels' wife, and she was basically trying to give him advice on, the struggles that he faces having to play the game, so to speak, to climb the ladder. And um, you know, her answer to him was, well, you can't lose if you don't play, right? And that really meant you don't have to participate in every fight, right? If you walk away, you win. For me, this was one of the hardest hitting quotes, two of them, basically, two of the hardest hitting quotes I heard from The Wire. And that's when Jimmy McNulty, the lead detective in the show, is basically he's just obsessive about this case, and he's avoiding hanging out with his his relationships, his coworkers, right? And he's just kind of going down this rabbit hole, right? And his partner or someone in the team, it's I believe he goes by Lester Freeman, right? Basically says, "A life, Jimmy. You know what that is? It's the shit that's happening while you're waiting for moments that never happen." How many times I've heard this statement from friends and colleagues that, oh, I'll invest once I start getting my financial situation better. Oh, I'll start, saving, for my retirement once I, get into a better place, right? But you're never going to get into a better place just automatically. It's all going to take these steps and processes that we have to go through in order to get to that next level, right? Because otherwise, we're just doing insanity, right? It's just doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So that, like I said, this one really hit me that it's like, dude, you need to open your goddamn eyes and realize that life is happening. And yeah, we all want that corner office. We all want that six-figure salary. But you know what we really need? We need peace of mind. We need a good place to be with. We need friends. We need family. Uh, this is a funny quote. It comes from Prez Belusky. That's why people call him Prez, because people don't know how to say Prez Belusky in the show. But yeah, he ends up taking a career shift and goes from being a police officer to being a teacher in a really rough part of the town as far as like for school. And he sees it with his own eyes that the education system isn't really helping us the way it should be, because he says, and this is so true, the kids, they're not dumb, they're just not being taught. And I mean, that breaks down to a lot of things, but for me, that says basically that, most of life's failures isn't, because people lack intelligence, right? I mean, because systems fail them. That happens. We see this and hear this all the time of people sliding and falling through the cracks of society, right? And oh, they just got missed, right? And the potential is wasted when leadership does nothing. So keep that in mind. The potential. This next quote comes from Cedric Daniels again, and it's pretty funny because it shows exactly how a lot of police departments in the U.S. think that it's all optics based, and what they need is a really good press, photo op, right? How do we get that? And Detective Daniel says it's so true. Dope on the damn table. What does that mean? Well, people love the appearances of progress. I think we can all say that, but I'll say, hey, where are our flying cars the Jetsons promised us? This next quote is a wonderful one from our friend Lester Freeman, and it basically says, "You'd rather live in a shit than let the world see you work a shovel." So true. Pride ruins more lives, than failure. So swallowing your ego is huge in this day and age. It's often the first step of leveling up, because once you can admit your humility, and all right, guys, I think we're going to round out the end of this video with a final quote, because several people in the show keep saying this over and over, and it's that you play the hand that you're dealt. Well, What do we mean? You don't choose where you want to start, but you choose how you're going to respond. All right, legends. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear me out on some of these great quotes from The Wire. I hope to do more of them, give you guys some positivity, some philosophy, and yeah, I'll catch you legends in the next one. In the meantime,
Yo, you about done? Tick tock, motherfucker.